Hi friends and subscribers, and welcome to Starry Hilder's Off-Grid Homestead. You know, one of the biggest commodities we have on our homestead is water. And it's not just the biggest commodity on our homestead because we're off-grid and water is so precious here. It is the biggest commodity, I think, worldwide. Even for you friends who are on the grid. You know, we don't think about the value of the water that comes out of our faucet every time we turn it on because it's always there. Every time we take a shower, every time we take a bath, every time we wash our car or do a load of laundry, the water is there, isn't it? But what if one day that water isn't there? The same amount of water covering the world as there always has been, but the quality of that water has changed drastically. We have such things as fracking now, pollutants. You think about all the things that are contaminating our water sources. So we may have the same amount of water in the world as we did many years ago, but the quality has changed. And it doesn't make any difference if you're off-grid and you depend on that water source for kind of your survival, or you're on grid. So is about 20 years ago, when my husband and I were actually living on the grid, our water source dried up. Yeah, just dried up. We had a well and the well went dry. And we actually ended up having to find another water source, which wasn't digging another well. No, we didn't have money for that. We actually had to drive our pickup truck couple miles down the road to the wayside and use the water at the wayside and pump it in with a hose and then come back home and pump it out with the hose, and it was quite the ordeal. There were many times that I remember standing in a dishpan with, a little garden bucket like this, pouring it on me because we didn't have any water being piped into the house, so that was the shower. Yeah. Spot. Learned how to rethink looking at our consumption of water. And I know when you friends come to our channel, what are you looking for? You're looking at making changes in your life, even if you're on the grid and you can't start a homestead, but you're still looking for that independence and that self-sustainability. So, because we're living it now and we've lived it before, I am going to share some of the things that we do here in our homestead to conserve water and look at it more as that precious commodity. Again, it may not always be coming out of the faucet, so we really should look at it for its value and start learning how to conserve. All right, come along and I'll show you some of our water-saving tips. And we're going to talk laundry. Yeah. Why are we outside? Well, you all know my state-of-the-art laundry system is the bathtub. In the summertime, I just simply come out here and I do most of my laundry by hand. Now, is it unheard of to go to the laundromat? No. We can actually save water on our homestead by running to the laundromat too. So usually about once every... It's not even once a month. I'd say once every 60 days, every 2 months, I will run to the laundromat and do hordes and hordes of laundry. I'll do all my big blankets and my comforters. And for what I pay at the laundromat saves me here off the grid with my water. And now as you're on grid and you're living in your home that's connected to the utility company, you still really should be thinking kind of off grid. If you're going to do laundry, make sure you have a full load. Don't do these half loads and waste your water. Just think about water differently, even when it comes to laundry. So if you're on a grid, please do this. And one other Starry tip. They sell washers that are energy efficient. They conserve on water. These are awesome. If you can switch over to those type of washers for your on-grid home, they're going to conserve on a lot of electricity and a lot of water. Shower. Or if you have a bathtub. I'm going to tell you right now, if you go off the grid, don't plan on getting a bathtub. It is a waste of precious water. No bathtubs, no whirlpools, no hot tubs. It is just a different way to think, because that water is a commodity. Now, if you live in a region where you don't have forest fires and you don't have a dry season and you have an abundance of water, whatever. Fill up the swimming pool. No problem. But I really want you friends to start thinking differently about your water consumption. And on the grid, this is where it's going to start, in the shower. We have an on-demand. This is actually what heats up our water. And when we take a shower, we turn it on, and we've got a very, just a little conservative shower head. Turn on that water, we soap up, and then we turn the water back on and rinse. We have to do that because we have that holding tank, and especially in different times of the year, the spring isn't always flowing. So we don't always have a full holding tank, and we have to be conservative. The other great backup plan, and we should all have this, no matter if you're on or off grid, are solar bags. Solar bags, you've probably seen them in the camping supply section of the stores, like maybe Walmart or Home Depot or some of the co-op places. These bags are great to have because you can pre-fill them up, you set them out in the sun, they heat up, you've got water, and when you hang them up, you got enough pressure so you have a shower. When we first moved out here, we didn't have indoor plumbing, so the solar bags was my shower. And in fact, when winter came along, and the hook, I'm going to show you, the hook is still there. We had the shower, no indoor plumbing, and we put the shower bag right up there, and voila! I had a shower. So even in times when there is an emergency and you lose electricity, these solar bags really are the way to go. So get a couple of those for your preparedness, backup. Overlook when it comes to water is, a lot of us have gardens. We love our gardens, right? And what do we do with our gardens? We water our gardens a lot. And we get used to watering our gardens. You may want to rethink that. Here on our homestead, as you know, we chose the Back to Eden garden system because we rarely have to water. And I tell you, the benefits of choosing a garden method that requires very little water, it's going to save you a lot. So, and it's really imperative here on our homestead because, again, we just have the spring. So, Back to Eden garden method, switch over, or just look at doing a lot of heavy mulching. Mulching including wood chips, grass clippings, leaves, pine needles. You have to mix the browns with the greens. You can see this is our Back to Eden system, and we rarely have to water. So that's another area where you can save on your water consumption, is the Starry's car. And I know, look, it's a little dirty, but why is it dirty? Because I don't wash my car with my precious water. No way. And I've gone to town, and on a hot sunny day, that's what people do. They get out their new vehicles and they want shiny, clean cars. I get that. But if you're trying to change your mode of thinking and you're looking at water now as a commodity, make that small change. Stop washing your cars at home and bring them down to the car wash. Or you can do what Starry does. I just rely on the rain when it comes. And really, I do. In fact, when it's really raining hard, I'll get out here and soap down my car and let the rain from the clouds rinse it. It works great. So that only happens maybe once a year because you can see my car's kind of dirty. But just such simple changes. And another tip that just really gets overlooked, and this is simple, but I want you to think about it. How many of you have pets? We've got Mario and Sprig. And how many of you have water bowls, right? We feed our dogs and cats water, and then what we do is we periodically, here's ours, we take that water when it gets kind of icky and we clean out the bowl, right? And I want to ask you, friends, let's be honest, how many of you throw that water down the sink? No more throwing water down the sink. No. You have to look at things differently. Remember, we're thinking off the grid, even if you're on the grid. So no more throwing that yucky water down the sink. You throw it in a plant. Or you go out to the garden and you water your strawberries or your celery, whatever. That's the change of thinking that you have to adapt when you really want to look at water as that precious commodity. All right? See, just some really easy tips. But I tell you, I ask you, friends, to try that. make those changes, get back to me and let me know how hard or how easy, or maybe you're already doing it. But I'll guarantee you there will be some out there that never thought about these things and might be a little bit of an eye-opener. Okay, so thank you, friends, for coming along, and I'm glad I got to share some of those water tips with you, because they really will, if you want to be self-sustainable and more prepared and more cognitive of this type of lifestyle, it can be done. But it all starts with your thinking. All right. God bless. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. And don't forget to subscribe. And I love the comments. Do a thumbs up and share. Sharing always helps. All right. God bless everybody.